and covers the Titans and everything going on in Tennessee for News Channel 5 and WNSR Sports Radio in Nashville. My good friend Jon Burton joins us here on Westwood One Sports. Morning, JB. How are you?
Chris, I'm great. First of all, thank you for the compliment. Yeah, I try to hit the gym and stay in a little bit of shape. Second of all, you are still that Pittsburgh guy, aren't you? Just ripping on the Browns every chance you get. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
I mean, come on. It's an easy target, John. It's a real easy target.
I lived in Pittsburgh for over a decade, and I went to many a Steelers-Browns game and just watching the black and gold pummel the brown and orange, and all you Pittsburgh fans just taking delight to that. So, I guess it's in your blood, right?
It is. It's an inextricable strand in the DNA. It can't be ripped out. Let's talk about your Titans, though. They go out, they get a win, and that's secondary, really, the final score to the results in a preseason game. But a 19-13 win out in San Francisco. Let's start with the guy who went back to visit his old team, Robert Saleh, the new head coach for the Titans. And he decided it looked like the starting unit got roughly 3 series on offense. Were you surprised at all to see how much of a workload they got right out of the gate?
Not really, Chris, because Saleh kind of indicated back in the spring that his initial plan, subject to change, of course, his initial plan was to play his starters pretty significantly in the preseason. And it makes sense, right? He's a new head coach coming to a new organization. He's got an all-new coaching staff, a lot of new players, and a lot of things they want to get right before the opener September 13th against the New York Jets. So, yeah, the starting offense was out there for about 3 series, and I know the starting defense was out there. Jeffrey Simmons, who never plays in the preseason, he was out there doing his thing. So not really a huge surprise to see Robert Saleh have his starters out there for a little bit of an extended period of time. And I think we're probably going to see that in preseason game number 2 as well.
Cam Ward had an interesting night for what it's worth, John. I mean, brilliant 95-yard touchdown drive on the opening possession, but he ends up going just 5 of 12 for 57 yards. I think Saleh said post-game that he looked a little, this is a popular phrase amongst coaches talking about young quarterbacks these days, a little, quote, sped up. Just from your vantage point watching the game, what did you see from Cam Ward in his night of work, especially that first drive that looked pretty good?
Yeah, first drive looked really good. He hit Calvin Ridley for a nice gain on a 3rd and 10. A well-designed play, a screen pass to his tight end, Gunnar Helm, for 16 yards and a first down. I thought overall the offense, ran the ball pretty well. They're starting a rookie as of now at right guard, and Fernando Carmona, who they drafted in the 5th round. He actually looked pretty good. The offensive line did a decent job. Of course, San Francisco didn't play most of their starters on defense, and as you know, it's a pretty good defense. But, yeah, I mean, the first drive was pretty good, but as far as the term sped up, I think it's apropos in this situation. He had some guys open in subsequent drives, flat out missed them, or maybe threw the ball too hard, took a really bad intentional grounding penalty when he was under pressure. And I felt like there were times where, he just kind of waited a little bit too long in the pocket. As well as I do, that ball's got to come out. You don't have time to, make a sandwich back there. This is the NFL, and they're coming for you. So, listen, there's a lot on Cam this year, right? Number 1 overall pick last year, learning a new offense under Brian Daboll this year, new personnel. He's got a lot on his plate, and he's trying to process everything. But, how fans are. They're going to look at what Drew Aller did last night for your Steelers. They're going to look at, Joe Burrow, even though he's Joe Burrow, having an efficient night, and, Fernando Mendoza with a nice drive, getting the Raiders into the end zone, and people are going to overreact to it. I'm going to hold off on that, but and see how the rest of the preseason and training camp develops. But by and large, that was not exactly an inspiring, stellar performance by Cam Ward last night. And the book on Cam Ward has always been, look, he's not going to be a 75% completion guy. That's just not his game. But he does have the arm talent. He does have the moxie. He's a tough kid. And the hope is that, Daboll can kind of harness him a little bit and get him to make some big plays and not make as many mistakes.
What's the relationship been like, John, between Dayball and Ward from what you can tell? Because Dayball, I think, is notorious for being a bit of a hard ass. Cam Ward, a young quarterback, maybe he needs that, maybe he doesn't. How are those two gelling early on?
But, well, judging by what both guys are saying, it's going well. And, Ward, it seems like a type of guy who wants to be coached hard. The thing about Ward is, we'll see how he develops as an NFL quarterback, right? That's down the road. But as far as doing the little things, getting in early, staying late, watching film, working with his OC, working with his quarterback's coach, it's been exemplary. He has been that guy. He's been a really, really nose to the grindstone type of guy. And, you look at the previous starting quarterback, Will Levis, and I kind of made this analogy, right? Will Levis is a guy that wants to be great. He wants to be a really good quarterback. Cam Ward believes he will be a really good quarterback. So he's got it from a mental standpoint. You're right. Dable is tough. He's got a temper, and he's very demanding on his quarterbacks. But Ward seems to have taken to that. He likes it. He said nothing but good things about working with Brian Dable. So the hope is here in Nashville that that marriage can work, and we can see better production from the passing game and the offense in general with the Titans.
Jon Burton of News Channel 5 and WNSR Nashville Sports Radio with us here on Westwood One Sports. You mentioned Will Levis, so let's talk about the backup quarterbacks. Levis, Trubisky, the established veteran being brought in, and Hendon Hooker, who's still looking to finally get off the ground in his NFL career. What's the assessment of what that's going to look like behind Cam Ward? I imagine Trubisky, I don't want to say is a shoe-in to make it because you want to have an established veteran backup behind a young quarterback like Ward. But what's it look like, the battle for what I would imagine are two more quarterback roster spots?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to say it. I'll say it. Trubisky will be QB2. He's the backup. That's why he was brought here. And as far as, Will Levis goes, I think he's a guy that they want to hang on to just in case, right? We all know in training camp, someone's going to get hurt, something's going to happen, and that would certainly increase Will Levis's value for a trade. If nobody steps up to trade for him, will Levis still be on the roster? Maybe, but it's pretty clear that the organization from is he the franchise quarterback standpoint has moved on because Cam's here now. But there's a lot that they like about Will, and his attitude's been really good. I mean, that's a tough situation for him. Sat out all last year, opted to get shoulder surgery, now is back, knows he's not going to be the starter, knows right now he's number 3 on the depth chart, so his future here is probably not very promising. So, but it looks like it's going to be obviously Cam as the starter, Trubisky the 2, and they'll look to probably move Will Levis and maybe have Hooker either be on the active roster or the practice squad. And you're right, Hendon Hooker, obviously folks around here very familiar with, had a couple really good seasons at the University of Tennessee. He's loved by the fan base here. I know there are portions of this fan base here in Tennessee that would love to see him be on the roster, be on the team, even if he's not the starter or even the number 2. So it looks like it's going to be Cam, Mitchell, and then probably Hooker in some capacity. And I predict that they're eventually going to move on from Will Levis. They'll either release him or probably, if they can get something for him in a trade, they'd love to do that. But I'm not sure he's going to be on the opening day 53.
Interesting. One of the things that people have talked about in regard to the Titans and why they believe in the Titans taking a step forward this year, John, is obviously Carnell Tate. No catches last night on just 3 targets. Is that just a part of the process at this point, or is there going to be an immediate knee-jerk overreaction this morning in Nashville to Carnell Tate not having a single catch in his first preseason action?
No, that you're gonna chalk that up to the first preseason game, and everything maybe being a little bit out of sorts, out of rhythm. Listen, Carnell Tate has already won over this fan base based on what he's done in training camp, based on what he did back in the spring in OTAs. This kid's the real deal. He's making spectacular catches in practice. He's dominating. He's running great routes, catching the football. You never see him drop the ball. He's really good in the red zone on the fade route, one-on-one with a DB, fighting for the ball. He's known as a contested catch guy. He's really, really shined in training camp. I'm sure the fans would have loved to see him, have a tote last night, but that's certainly not cause for any concern, if you will. Carnell Tate, he has proven very quickly, based on how he's performed in practice and in training camp, that there's a reason why the Titans took him 4th overall. It's a bit of a surprise on draft night, but the more you see Carnell Tate perform, the more you realize this is the big play weapon that Cam Ward needs to have a chance for Cam to be a legitimate franchise quarterback in his league.
Jon Burton of News Channel 5 and WNSR Sports Radio in Nashville with us here on Westwood One Sports, talking about the Titans after their preseason debut last night, a win over the Niners in Santa Clara, 19-13. Tony Pollard finished off that first 95-yard drive we were talking about, John, earlier on the first possession. You come back with Pollard and Spears as the 1-2 in the backfield again this year. With a young quarterback, it's always important to have stability in the run game. I'm also a big fan, not just because he's a Penn State guy, but of Nick Singleton, the 5th-round pick, who's in the mix as well. Is there a confidence in them being able to lean on the run game in weeks where maybe Cam Ward does struggle?
Yeah, I think there is. And you mentioned Tony Pollard. I mean, not only a productive player, right? 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 1 with the Cowboys, 3 straight with the Tennessee Titans. Spears is a guy that they need to get going, right? He's a guy that's been in and out of the lineup with injuries, but you see the ability that he has, not only running the football, smaller guy, not afraid to run between the tackles, but is a great weapon as a pass receiver. Dable's been working with him in the slot, splitting him out wide, letting him see if he can get one-on-one with a safety or a linebacker because that's a mismatch with his quickness and speed. And I'm with you, man. I love Singleton. I love the fact that he's a versatile back. He's got good burst. He's got good power. He can also catch the football. He's a guy that they really, really like as a rookie. So, yeah, you've got a pretty good potential 3-headed monster from the running back position. And, a young quarterback's best friend is a good running game. And, Dable, I know he's known as a quarterback guru, quarterback whisperer and whatnot, but Dable wants to run the football. He wants to be balanced, as most OCs will tell you. But, yeah, you've got 3 pretty good running backs to start with in Pollard and Spears, and now Singleton, who's flashed a little bit in practice, had a couple of good runs last night, as you saw. So, yeah, I mean, if they can get a good running game going and a good short passing game, too, with the tight ends. I mentioned Gunnar Helm, the tight end who caught that little tight end screen and got 16 yards. They have Gunnar Helm, they have Daniel Bellinger, and obviously they went and spent money on Wan'Dale Robinson to be their slot receiver. So, a controlled short passing game and a good running game is only going to benefit Cam Ward.